We expect a lot from our teachers. The teaching itself, paying for their own supplies, and more recently, being a classroom's Department of Defense. There is an extraordinary conversation that happens when teachers take active shooter training. In Jefferson County, they're asked to think about how they would prepare to defend themselves in their classrooms. Anusha Roy learned about this from the district security director, who has trained hundreds of schools and thousands of teachers about this difficult ask.
Testament to John McDonald's nonstop work. He chatted from his car after helping during a crisis in a neighboring school district.
We just went out to support the parent-student reunification.
McDonald's trained thousands of teachers and students about active shooter protocols, and he was very clear.
If you can get behind a locked door in a school and then have a secondary locked classroom door, these are time barriers that work.
But if that's not the case, McDonald asked teachers he trains across the country to think about how they would defend themselves and the kids inside.
There's no other recourse in moment in time, and that's all you got. Then what are your options?
While it's rare, it has happened.
Dr. David Banky, our math teacher at Deer Creek Middle School, knew immediately what he was going to do, and he did. He tackled the gunman, subdued him, and controlled him. But he's someone that had thought about this a lot and put a lot of time and consideration behind that thought process. And he reacted as he had built muscle memory. Most people, that's really difficult.
It is such an extraordinary thing to ask teachers to talk about.
Sure it is. You're absolutely right, because on any given day, what a teacher's job is to educate our little ones, right? Educate our kids who just want to be there to learn and thrive and grow and be happy in their environment. And now you're asking teachers to think about the worst case scenario.
It is tough. It is heartbreaking. It is a last resort. But McDonald says it's also an important part of being prepared.
We live in a time and an era of violence.
He said some teachers end up thinking about this more than others, and he's worked with them on strategies and is hoping to hand back some power to the classroom. So as important as it is, McDonald says it's actually tricky to keep all of those doors locked, especially at the end of the year with ceremonies and celebrations. There's also schools without AC who need to keep these doors and windows open to cool down. All of this involves working with children as well. So of course, that's evolving depending on how old the kids are. It's a very gentle conversation with our youngest kiddos. They're practicing things and games like who can color in the dark the best, or who can make a lollipop last the longest without making any kind of noise. And one of the most important partnerships that's coming out of this conversation is McDonald said they're pairing up with a group to develop protocols and safety protocols for kids with autism who are visually impaired, who are hearing impaired. He said there really wasn't a good safety plan for them, so that is going to be a big game changer.
Teachers are responsible for lessons, and I take it now that these are part of the life lessons you learn that could be used later in life.
100%. So McDonald said this is not just about school. It's at the movie theater, at the grocery store, at the church. He said he actually started getting calls from families and folks from D.C. after January 6th saying those young interns who grew up in Jeffco were trained within this school district. They knew what to do in that moment.
Amazing that you have to take that and use it elsewhere in life.
It's unbelievable. I had so many moments where I said, what are our children going to be learning, and this is going to be a part of it.
Important training nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Anusha.